3, 2, 1.
Hi everyone, this is Victoria Wolders from MyKidsLocker.com, and welcome to another Empathy Tales podcast episode. Today, we get to have a special guest, Jonathan Fehr. He is an author, and he is an amazing creator of magical worlds. Well, he has written several different books, and those books can actually be bought on Amazon. He wrote Skyblind, The Magician's Workshop, Volume 1, and The Magician's Workshop, Volume 2. He has created some mystical, magical worlds, and I connected with him recently at Trinity Western University in Langley, British Columbia, Canada. So he is going to read Chapter 1 from Skyblind today. If you'd like to reach out to him, he can be reached at his website, J.R. for Fehr, F-E-H-R, and you can also reach out to him through Instagram and all the different social media outlets. So I'm not going to hold us back. I'm going to let him read his Chapter 1, and I hope that you enjoy it just as much as I have. Thank you.
Hello, I'm fantasy author J.R. Fehr, but my friends just call me John. And I'm here today to read to you guys a bit of my book called Skyblind. So this book is the first book that I've ever actually written, and it took me several years. It was quite the journey for me to get to the place of being able to write my own story, and I am just very excited to be able to share it with you now today. So I'm going to begin by giving you a little bit of background. So in this world, it's not like our Earth. This Earth is one where they have about 6 months of sunlight and then 6 months of darkness. So it's pretty similar to what you would find if you lived, say, in Antarctica or something like that, where half the year was just completely dark. So because of that, the culture in the world of my book, Skyblind, the culture has developed this belief system that there are two gods, a god of day and a god of night. Now, both of these gods are at war with each other, and for the 6 months when the sun is up, the god of day is winning, and the 6 months when the sun is down, the god of night is winning. As you can probably guess, the god of day is perceived to be the good one and the god of night to be the bad one. So our story begins with a small family that lives out in the outskirts. This is the outer region of this fantasy world that I've created. These characters, a boy named Corwin, his twin sister Taylee, and then their uncle Jael. So they live here where they are farmers, sheep herders, and things, pretty standard for them for someone who lives in this kind of a world. But as you see from the beginning of this story, there's a virus that's starting to spread, and some of Corwin's sheep are starting to get sick. So this is something that's very distressing, especially because that's most of their income comes from this. The other thing I want you to know is that Corwin and Taylee don't know who their parents are. They were abandoned essentially at a very young age, and so they never really met their mom or dad. So that's a big mystery for both of them that they're trying to figure out, and something that their uncle has refused to ever speak about. So yeah, I guess that's pretty good for the intro. And I will now start with Chapter 1, and we'll go for a little bit, and then I'll pick up again with you in the next 2 weeks. We'll do a couple more readings. So thank you for taking the time to join me with this, and here we go. Chapter 1, The Rising Darkness. About time! Any longer and I was going to eat your portion, Taylee exclaimed with her mouth full of food as soon as Corwin Medisto entered the shack. He instantly noticed that his sister was dressed in the nicest blue dress that she owned, and had her plain brown hair bound into a ponytail with an elegant white band. I think she even painted her face. Trying to dress older now, I see. You aren't fooling anyone. Corwin grunted as he kicked off his boots by the door. One of us should probably act our age, don't you think? Taylee teased. What took you so long, anyway? Braid's still sick, Corwin admitted sadly as he hung his jacket on the wall. Taylee raised her eyebrows in confusion. Are you still worrying about that sheep? I told you already. She'll recover. We just need more medicine. Medicine is not magic, Uncle Jael reminded them from his seat at the table. It cannot cure all wounds. Well, then maybe we need magic, Corwin said, mostly in jest, though part of him wondered if magic might actually be the answer. Be careful how you joke, his uncle replied sternly. Cyrus does not have a sense of humor. Can God even hear us all the way out here? Corwin wondered. Life in the outskirts wasn't easy, a fact that Corwin knew better than anyone. But no amount of knowing could have prepared him for the harshness of this sheep virus. There was no official name for it, no known cure or cause, and for the first 3 months of day, it had mercilessly swept through their livestock and killed or weakened the vast majority. Braid will get better, Corwin told himself firmly. Uncle Jael is just being overly cautious again. Though only in his 58th year, Uncle Jael appeared more and more weary all the time. His hair was the color of dry ash, and his posture showed the burden of many years' hard labor. But he worked hard to educate them, train them, and provide for them. And despite the constant pessimism, Corwin knew that his uncle meant well. Sorry, Uncle Jael. Corwin bowed his head apologetically. I just wish I could do more to help the sheep recover. Some things are beyond our control. His uncle's voice was strained but gentle, and as usual he spoke with a hint of sadness. Now, come, have a seat. Taylee was impatient and started without you. I made sure to save some birthday hash. Corwin nodded gratefully and grabbed a plate from the table. Oh, we're having birthday hash? Taylee teased as she tossed a potato wedge into her greedy mouth. I thought it tasted more festive than usual. They'd eaten little aside from potatoes, eggs, and beans for the past 2 months, and it was beginning to take a toll on all of them. Uncle Jael scoffed. If you want fancier meals, perhaps you should find a man who can afford your tastes. Someone like Treo? Taylee's lips took on an oddly mischievous curl. Uncle Jael narrowed his eyes at her. No, someone most unlike Treo. At that, Taylee broke out into melodic laughter. Relax, Uncle. We're only friends. But if you must worry about one of us, it should be Cor. He's a man now, but I don't think he's even kissed a girl yet. Taylee laughed. What do you know of kissing? Corwin chose to ignore her as he filled his plate with the measly amount of eggs and potato that remained. It was a bland and greasy meal, not nearly filling enough, but he ate it with a smile and thanked his uncle when it was gone a minute later. Though others may disagree, the journey to manhood takes much more than a kiss or a 16th birthday, I'm afraid. Uncle Jael frowned. I imagine the journey to womanhood is equally as challenging, especially for certain silly little girls, Corwin added with a glance at Taylee, who was acting far too smug this morning. Oh, dear brother, I haven't been a silly little girl for quite some time. She flashed a grin before grabbing a greasy piece of potato from the table and flicking it at him. Corwin skillfully caught the potato in his mouth and spat it back at her. Taylee managed to dodge it, but scrunched up her nose in a way that told him she wouldn't dare try throwing anything else at him. Despite her silly attempts to look like an adult, he would always see Taylee as his innocent little sister, even though he was only a few minutes older. Uncle Jael remained unusually quiet, largely ignoring their playful banter, and instead kept glancing out the window, which, in reality, was just a medium-sized hole in the wall where wood had recently rotted away. There's work to be done. Neither midluminous nor a birthday are excuses to be lazy. Uncle Jael rose from his seat. What other excuse do you need? Taylee laughed, but then in a quieter voice added, And are you sure we should go out? I've heard all sorts of rumors that some locura were seen stalking around. Uncle Jael let out a long and labored sigh. Taylee, what do we know about the locura? As if insulted by the question, his sister rolled her eyes at their uncle. Not this again. Uncle Jael kept his eyes locked on her and patiently waited for her answer. The locura are evil demons of night, she repeated the textbook line, as if quoting mindless rhetoric. They hate the sun, they roam the borderlands, and they never come out during light span. Why do they hate the sun? When it came to matters of study, Uncle Jael often had to coax answers out of her. Because they're monstrous shadows of humans who don't want their ugliness exposed. Taylee looked miserable. Uncle, I understand all this, but the rumors are spreading that... Uncle Jael interrupted her. I'm interested in fact, not fiction. Why are they monsters, Taylee? His sister crossed her arms and looked away. It's a result of the curse, Corwin spoke for his sister, because they disobeyed Cyrus and followed Pliston. I was asking Taylee. Uncle Jael's voice was stern. Taylee leaned her head back against the chair in annoyance. Because they disobeyed Cyrus, she replied in mimicry of Corwin's voice. Uncle Jael nodded. This is why obedience is one of the most important virtues. Those who chose Pliston's rebellion shared his fate. The locura are forever bound with him in darkness and despair. If they could live in the light, we would not be able to spend half the year there. Well, what about dark ones then? Taylee asked. They aren't cursed. Why is she so concerned about this? We've never even seen a dark one before. Don't worry, Tay, Corwin attempted to reassure her. That's why the knights from Pine House are on constant patrol. Calm down, brother. Who says I'm worried? Taylee quipped, feigning indifference. I know Cyrus wouldn't let his faithful be harmed. I was only saying that there's been strange rumors, that's all. Corwin shrugged his shoulders. Uncle Jael stood abruptly and glanced again out the window. There was an agitated look in his eye. He's not himself this morning. What's going on? Corwin asked as he watched his uncle grab his tattered leather jacket from the wall. Light is not for wasting, his uncle repeated the grim, all too familiar saying. Corwin nodded and pushed his chair back, but before he could get up, Uncle Jael placed a firm hand on his shoulder. I have business in Crydor. Stay, tend the crops, and watch your sheep. I won't be gone long. Although Uncle Jael smiled as he spoke, his eyes were uncommonly sad. I'll go with you. The crops can wait, and I already checked the sheep. Between working the farm during Lightspan and schooling in Pine House during Darkfall, opportunities to go to town were a rare treat. No, I need to do some trading, and it's better done alone, his uncle stated firmly. Trading, huh? Taylee raised an eyebrow. You sure you aren't off to get us a birthday present? Uncle Jael shook his head dismissively as he grabbed his satchel and draped it over one shoulder. Read chapters 33 and 34 of The History of Everything and Everyone. You can skip the rest of your studies. Consider that your birthday present. As he made his way to the door, Taylee slipped out of her chair and spoke in a strangely cryptic tone. A break from school is a wonderful present, Uncle, and you know how much I adore that book. But I have to wonder, might there be some other present? Uncle Jael stopped and turned to look at her. He didn't say anything, but something about the way he squinted his eyes made Corwin think he was uncertain of how best to respond. Taylee, Corwin scolded, we don't need any presents. A strange sadness settled over their uncle. Now he feels bad. Corwin couldn't believe it. Corwin couldn't believe that Taylee wanted to guilt their uncle into buying them presents from town. I have the greediest sister in the kingdom. Without saying another word, Uncle Jael exited their home. As soon as the door closed, Corwin spun toward his sister. What was that about? You know Uncle Jael can't afford to waste essence on presents. Relax. I never said the present was from him, Taylee said, flashing a grin. What's gotten into you this morning? Who else would give us a present? Corwin was finding her behavior more than annoying. The girl turns 16 and suddenly she thinks she can say whatever she wants? To you, probably no one. Me, on the other hand. Taylee peered out the window to make sure Uncle Jael was gone. What's she up to? Okay, so I woke up early, right? Taylee explained as she crossed the room. And I overheard Uncle talking to someone. At first, I thought maybe he was just rambling to himself, like he sometimes does. But no, there was definitely someone else here. So what? Corwin tried to sound uninterested, but his voice betrayed him. We never have visitors. Taylee grinned and darted into the bedroom. They were arguing, so they didn't really notice that I was watching. I haven't seen Uncle so upset in a long time. Or Trejo. What? Corwin followed her. Trejo came here? Even though they were best friends, Trejo rarely came out to the farm. Sure did, Taylee beamed. I didn't catch the whole argument, but Uncle Jael took a wrapped box from Trejo, who kept saying, don't you think your sister would want her to have it? Or something like that. Anyway, Uncle Jael forced Trejo to leave and then took the box and put it into his satchel. Your sister? What is that supposed to mean? Our uncle only had one sister, Corwin said. Yeah, I know. Our mom. Try to keep up. Taylee rolled her eyes as she reached under the bed. Corwin immediately felt uncomfortable. Their uncle wasn't perfect, but he had always done his best to take care of them. There was no reason to suspect he was withholding a gift from their long-deceased mother. And if he was, there had to be a good reason, Corwin decided with confidence. Whatever that box was, Uncle took it from his satchel with him, so there's no point in thinking about it. I'm sure he'll show it to you when he's ready. Corwin cut himself off. Taylee had pulled a box wrapped in brown paper out from under the bed, and Corwin's mouth dropped open when he saw it. You stole it? Oh, don't be so extreme. Come on, I want to open it with you, Taylee said enthusiastically as she pushed past him and placed the box on the table. Are you crazy? He'll notice if it's not in his satchel. No, he won't. I replaced it with a different box wrapped in similar brown paper. Give me some credit. Corwin chose to remain quiet as his thoughts unwillingly drifted to the mother he never knew. Kyla. Her name was Kyla. She had died shortly after giving birth to them. Corwin didn't know much about either of his parents, Corwin didn't know much about either of his parents. And whenever Uncle Jael mentioned their mother, it was always some random memory of a trait or ability, like how she had been fast, and how Corwin must have inherited that from her. Uncle Jael claimed that she had been able to outrun most men, which was a feat that Corwin deemed quite useful, as one of the only other descriptions he'd ever been given was that she was extremely beautiful. Until now, the only gift Corwin had ever received from his mother, besides life, was the ability to run. Well, aren't you going to come over here so we can open it? Taylee asked impatiently. Her voice snapped Corwin back into reality. His eyes shifted from the box. No. He took his eyes off the box and shook his head. No, this is wrong. If Uncle wanted you to have it, he would have given it to you before he left. You shouldn't have taken it. Taylee rolled her eyes in annoyance. Come on, aren't you just the least bit curious? No, Corwin lied. He wanted desperately to open that box and see something that belonged to his mother. Uncle Jael took this away for a reason. Obedience is a virtue, he reminded himself firmly. Ugh, whatever. I'll open it myself, Taylee said as she reached under her dress, grabbed a hidden dagger strapped to her leg, and in one quick motion, sliced the wrapping off the box. Stop! Corwin tried to grab her, but she squirmed out of his reach and around the table. Then, with a mischievous grin, she flipped open the lid. Her eyes grew wide with surprise and delight. Incredible! What is it? Corwin asked as he tried to get a better look at what was inside. Taylee snapped the lid shut and held it close to her chest. I don't know. I thought you didn't want to see it. I thought it was wrong. Corwin shook with suppressed anger. It was at times like this that he wondered what would it be like to be an only child. Just hand it over. His sister smiled victoriously and placed the box into his waiting hands. As Corwin opened the lid, she leaned around to him to get a better look. I don't understand why Uncle got so angry when Trail brought this, Taylee stated as she slipped her dagger back into its hidden sheath. Inside the box lay a coiled silver necklace. At first glance, it appeared to be rather ordinary, but when Corwin pulled it out, he saw that attached to the chain was some sort of metal pendant shaped like an animal. Corwin held the pendant in his hand to examine it closer, and instantly a cold wave of recognition washed over him. A night wolf. It's a night wolf, Corwin gasped. What did you do? Taylee asked as she looked at it in shock. A high-pitched hissing sound now emitted from the necklace, and the eyes of the night wolf glowed white. Okay, so there you have it. That is the end of chapter 1 of my novel Skyblind. Thank you so much for joining me today and listening to this, and I look forward to sharing chapter 2 with you soon.
Well, we've just listened to our first chapter of Skyblind. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for sharing with us this lovely story. Stay tuned for next week where we listen to chapter 2. You can also buy his books. If you go on to Amazon, you can search his book, Skyblind, and be able to learn a little bit more about him as an author. And you can also go to his website as well. And it would be very exciting for you to connect with him because he has a lot of interesting things to say, and he's definitely going to be an upcoming author. If you'd like to connect with me about him or are interested in learning more about the Empathy Tales, feel free to reach out to me at mykidslocker.com. This is Victoria Wolders, and if you'd like to connect with me on social media, I am available on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, YouTube, Twitter, and I would love to hear questions or comments or anything that you would like to even ask our author, Jonathan. So feel free to reach out to me and Jonathan, and hopefully next time we will have you listening to chapter 2. And until then, I hope that you create compassion one story at a time. Thank you so much.
3, 2, 1.